Hey everyone. This is a little video, a get well soon video for my friend Landon, Liminal Advanced Collectors. Excuse me, Liminal Advanced Collectibles. Pardon me. Sorry. Please forgive me if I accidentally did that. Accidentally butchered the name, but this is for him. So I got 6 rare and interesting System Sensor SpectrAlert Classics. So we'll start. I should have this right here, but okay. So we'll start off with these two. These are This is the System Sensor P2475 RLZ, the current production version, and the first generation LED P900 version P900 with the US body type Spectral Alert Classic body. But except the reason why the lenses are like that is because they possess an LED instead of a xenon strobe. And the LED, and then they have the LED lens that is designed to allow for better coverage. So I'm going to pop them off their mounting plates real quick. And, let's see. You could already see that the P900, starting with this bears resemblance. And the P24 to the North American SpectrAlert Classic with the brake tabs and everything, and the same mounting plate design, even on the back too. So with the P2475 RLZ, there were 4 generations of these. There are 4 generations of these. This happens to be the 3rd generation of the true Chinese SpectrAlert Classic, and this is the 4th generation. The first generation and the second generation models were had just the P2475 RLZ, and they actually had red, strobe only models, which is the S2475 RLZ, and white models of the horn strobe and strobe only models, which would have a W suffix designation indicating the model. And they would come in a modified variant of a SpectrAlert box, along with the P2475 RL and the white versions and the S2475 RL, as well as the white version, the optional 25 millimeter fire markings, which would have covered this part of the grill area, the remote strobe known as the S2475 RL fire. Which would later somewhat be replaced. Which would be replaced by the S900 RL fire, which is one of the 2 strobe only versions of this that were released at the time. That it had a similar design to the S2475 RL fire. It's just remote strobe, except it's an LED and had the LED lens cover. But these are not. I don't know if I would call them strobes, despite looking at the documents saying that they are strobes. But to be honest with you, the LEDs actually act like incandescent lights with flasher circuits, like those notification devices, like the Space Age AV32, the AV34, and the V33, which many of them had flasher circuits. But if not all of them. But the 4th generation model. But the 1st and 2nd generation models were just as versatile as a North American SpectrAlert Classic. They were just as versatile, and they had the 3000 hertz and the interrupted pattern for the classic smoke alarm like tones, and then the electromechanical sound, and they were rated at 75 candela. And the same with the 2nd generation versions, which, quite frankly, the 2nd generation models, which would, for the true Chinese SpectrAlert Classics, would later be reused on the 3rd generation because it had the smaller insert screwdriver inscription and the much more blacker and bolder fire lettering. Because here's an example of that, of a regular SpectrAlert Classic sees more bolder. As you see right here, the P2475 RLZs from the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd generations had the red lens. The 3rd generation would have a Chinese marking on on the Chinese marking for fire lettering, Chinese characters specifically that translate to fire alarm on the lens, and the best way you could recognize a P900 from a P2475 RLZ in the third generation production run would be what's on the lens, the Chinese markings. However, the third generations and the fourth generations, the tones are only limited to a 3000 hertz sound, and so whereas the fourth generation one actually is a redesigned mounting plate, but you sacrifice the ability to mount on a 4x4 with this unknown back box that I'm not sure what it is, what the was referred to, but it definitely has a plug-in design where similar to like a SpectrAlert Advanced, but it mounts just like the System Sensor SpectrAlert Classic. These two terminals, or you could just wire it this way. So yeah. So this is a little versatile. It's more wiring friendly, but at the same time you're sacrificing a lot of that. But whereas this one was more mounter, whereas the third generation True Chinese Spectral Classics are more mounter friendly, since they reuse the North American Special Classic body style, but except with the lens cover, with the LED lens design that scatters the light around. It's no wonder why that the crystal ball, like what Landon calls it, that allows for better coverage. Next up, we have a multi-candela Spectral Classic that's model P1224MCPW. It is the white unmarked version of the P1224 MCPW. Me and a female collector known as HJFC something. I can't remember the last digits of her I can't remember the number part of her profile. She is the first owner. I happen to be the second owner. She has many more of these. I only have one. And I was lucky enough to get this when I did, because these Spectral Classic devices are quite rare. So, anyways, so yeah, so for example, although it's just like a normal P1224 MC, except it's white and unmarked, and it's just as versatile. Actually, it's more versatile than the previous generations of the classics because it's multi-candela. Next, we have a this was another unique one. This is a Canadian model S1224 MCA SpectrAlert Classic remote strobe. This one has the brake tabs off, so it's on the single gang plate. And I have it set at 110 candela, and I even have the P1224 MCPW on 110 candela. But what really gets me going is how there's no lettering on the sides. It's just only on the front where it has the different typography, which I believe is an Arial. If I'm not mistaken, the North American and first, second, third true Chinese Spectral Classics would have the would use like a modern a modded variant of the Franklin Gothic typography. And this actually is just like an S1224 MC, but it's Canadian, and these are also quite rare. If I'm not, if not too, yeah. And next up, we have a Spectral Classic that's a 120 volt AC model. This is 120 volts AC, and it says right there, and it's also the 120 designation in the model number, which is P12015K, designates that it's a 120 volt AC model, as well as a 120 volts. As well as you can see, it says supply voltage regulated 120 volts AC. So this would be used on a sprinkler system outside. Since it's weatherproof, that's what the K designation is in the model number. I forgot to mention the P900s had a variation for notifier called the P700, but the P700 and P900 include addressable units, so be very aware of what devices you get for the true Chinese Spectral Classics. Okay, back to this subject. You can see it actually reuses its 15 candela strobe, It actually reuses the refractor from the earlier first generation model. So so that's what we're going to now. This is the earliest form of the first generation SpectrAlert Classic. Not talking about the mounting plate. These have been around since, because you could find these on dual mounting, universal mounting plates. And this one I got has the single gain plate with the break off tabs removed. This also has the same refractors akin to many others. But you can see it's P241575. This is my third model. But except what's different, it does not have the diagram that shows that you on how to not mount the jumpers, where it would have a vertical position jumper with the no symbol. With the no symbol. It does not have that. And that's why I mentioned different physical features. And these actually go straight to code 3. Liminal Advance and I both own these and first own these and are the only two that own these in Hornstrobe format, but I could be wrong. There could be more. So, anyways, if I were to give these devices a rating, I'll give them a 10 out of 100 out of 100. So, anyway, because they're just as I would typically give with many of my SpectrAlert Classics. So, anyways, thank you for watching.